tiny treasures and toys. Please subscribe.
Hello and welcome to Tiny Treasures, and hello to our 1.7 million subscribers. Thank you for supporting our channel. We are going to read a Peppa Pig story called The Tooth Fairy. And there is the Tooth Fairy with Peppa's tooth, and she left Peppa some money. Yes, pigs have teeth, and Peppa lost one of her baby teeth. It probably felt a little wiggly. Maybe she pulled it out, and then maybe her gums started to bleed a little bit. Doesn't hurt too much. But then an adult tooth will grow in, a bigger tooth. Now, Tiny Treasures Minnie didn't have a loose tooth, and they had to go to the dentist. And the dentist found a dark hole in one of their teeth. Now, the tooth is in here, and it was pulled out by the dentist. It didn't hurt. And Tiny Treasures Minnie was very brave, so you don't have to look if you don't want to. I just find it very interesting, and I can show you what a real tooth looks like. And there are the roots, and there is the tooth, and there is the big black spot where the tooth was getting eaten, and it needed to come out so the new tooth can grow in. So it's important that we brush our teeth twice a day and floss once a day. And this wasn't Tiny Treasure Minnie's fault. Sometimes our teeth have issues, and that's why we have the dentist to help us. Let's read our story. Once upon a time, there was a clever little pig named Peppa. She was very proud of her teeth. Grunt, grunt. Peppa and her brother George knew how to take care of their teeth. They brushed them every morning and every evening. Brush, brush. Peppa and George loved playing dentist. Peppa would pretend to be the dentist, and George would be her assistant. George's toy dinosaur was the patient. "What lovely clean teeth you have, Mr. Dinosaur," Peppa smiled. "Grr," said George. One day after playing their dentist game, Peppa and George were eating their dinner. Suddenly something fell onto Peppa's plate. Clatter, clatter. It made Peppa jump. "What's that?" she asked. "Ho, ho, it's a tooth," Daddy Pig laughed. "But where's it from?" asked Peppa. "Why don't you look in the mirror?" said Mummy Pig. Peppa looked. She had a big gap in her teeth. "Oh, no," Peppa cried. "Do we need to go see Dr. Elephant?" "Ho, ho, ho! No," said Mummy Pig. "It's just a baby tooth. It's meant to fall out." "A baby tooth? What's that?" asked Peppa. "A baby tooth is a tooth that falls out when we're young," explained Mummy Pig. "A new one will grow in its place." "What should I do with my baby tooth?" asked Peppa. "If you place it under your pillow, the Tooth Fairy will come. She will take your tooth and leave you a shiny new coin," said Mummy Pig. That evening, while Peppa watched television with her family, she kept thinking about the Tooth Fairy. "When I grow up, I want to be a Tooth Fairy," said Peppa. Daddy Pig chuckled. "What about you, George?" asked Daddy. George pointed at his dinosaur. "Dinosaur," he growled. "Hee hee hee." "Come on, George," shouted Peppa. "We don't want to miss the Tooth Fairy." They both ran up the stairs to get ready for bed. "What are you doing, Peppa?" asked Daddy Pig. Peppa was carefully brushing her baby tooth. "I want it to be nice and clean for the tooth fairy," said Peppa. Snort, snort. Peppa tucked the tooth under her pillow. "Are you sure the tooth fairy will be able to find it?" she asked. "I promise," said Mummy Pig. "Just you wait and see." "Good night, Peppa and George." "Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy. Hee hee hee." Snore. "I'm going to wait up all night for the tooth fairy," Peppa said. "George, let's not go to sleep." George smiled and nodded. Peppa waited and waited. Snore, snore. She could hear something. "Is that the tooth fairy?" Peppa wondered. "George," she whispered, "did you hear that? Can you see the tooth fairy?" She climbed down to look at George. He was fast asleep. It was him making the noise. "I am much better at staying awake than George," Peppa sighed. She settled back in her bed. After a while, her eyes started to close. She quickly opened them again. "I'm going to stay awake and see the tooth fairy," Peppa said to herself firmly. Snore, snore. But soon she was asleep. Tinkle, tinkle. What was that? It was the tooth fairy. "Hello, Peppa," she whispered. "Would you like a coin in exchange for your tooth?" The tooth fairy gently took Peppa's tooth out from under the pillow and put a shiny coin in its place. "What a lovely clean tooth," the fairy said. "Thank you very much." Flutter, flutter, flutter. The next morning, Peppa found the shiny coin under her pillow. "Mummy, the tooth fairy did come after all," she shouted, jumping up and down. "Oh, I wish I had seen the tooth fairy," Peppa sighed. "Next time I'm definitely going to stay awake all night." And here is a shiny coin for Peppa. And here is a tooth that we will place under Tiny Treasure Minnie's pillow tonight. Maybe the tooth fairy will come visit our house. Remember, it's important to take care of our teeth. It keeps the rest of our bodies healthy as well. Take care of our eyes with sunglasses and protect them from UV rays. Protect our teeth by brushing twice a day, morning and night, for 2 minutes a time. And floss. And we wash our hands to stay healthy. Remember, don't touch your nose, eyes, or mouth when you have dirty hands. That's how we take care of our bodies. Thank you for coming to Tiny Treasures. Please subscribe to our videos. Goodbye.